We are on another episode of Address It here with the legendary Larry McKenzie. You know, it's safe to call you a legend, right?
Yeah, man, I guess, man.
I think it's safe to call him a legend.
Okay.
You know, we're going to get through that. But I think it's safe to call him a legend. You know, you're a pillar in the community, man of many hats, you know. Let's just get into it.
Okay.
You fresh off vacation, right?
I am.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I am, man.
You ready to get back to work yet?
I'm always working, man. Even on vacation, I'm working. But absolutely, yes, sir.
I just picture you being bored without hoop, man. I just, you know, retiring, I should say. You recently retired, you know, so what you gonna be doing with your time?
So I think it depends on how you define retirement. You know, in all honesty, Malik, I don't think I'll ever retire, right? And so, you know, people saying, well, what's the next steps, right? So I'm currently in the process of finishing up a couple books that's kind of been laying on the shelf that I need to get done as soon as possible. And so kind of in the pre-production conversation that we were having, I'm looking forward, man, to pouring into the lives of young coaches. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember when I was a kid, man, when I was 14 years old, my grandmother gave me a book by Napoleon Hill. And in that book, one of the things he talked about was like sharing knowledge, right? And he said, having knowledge and not passing it on is like having an atomic bomb and never dropping it. It's no good. You know what I'm saying? And so as you refer to me as the legend, you know what I'm saying? That says to me that I've had a great career. I've learned a lot of things, some ins and outs, some ups and downs, and all of those kind of things. And so why keep that to myself?
For sure.
And so I just decided that at this time, while I still got some energy, that I want to, you know, identify some. There's a lot of young coaches, man. I get calls all the time with questions about how to do this and how to do that. And I want to be able to give them my undivided attention in terms of helping them hopefully accomplish some of the things that I accomplished in my career.
For sure. We definitely need more of that. But before we go any further, I want to show some respect. Clyde Turner.
Yes, sir.
You know, I don't have a personal relationship with him, but I've been to his camps many years, you know. I know him pretty brief. But if you could just talk about who Clyde Turner was, what he meant to the basketball community, and you know.
Well, I mean, in all honesty, it's kind of hard to sit here and talk and not get emotional, man, because Coach McKenzie wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for Clyde Turner. Clyde Turner was a mentor. He was a very close friend. He was my big brother. And my story is, in all honesty, you kind of getting a scoop in terms of one of the things that I'm working on in terms of the book. But Clyde, when I got out of college, 22 years old, Clyde talked me into becoming a big brother. I mean, it wasn't an option. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're going to be a big brother. And so I always tell people at that time, at the age of 22, I questioned how much impact that I could have. You know, did I have enough time? Did I make enough money? All of those kind of things which comes with giving back. And so I became a big brother. I was a big brother to a 13-year-old young man from a single-family household. And
you talking about like a Big Brother program?
Been a Big Brothers program. Clyde was a program director in the Big Brothers program.
Okay.
Right? And so he talked a number of us through our college fraternity and other close friends into getting involved with young African-American young men. And so got involved with a young man by the name of Jules, who happens to no longer be here as well. But Jules is walking through through the hallway at his middle school over South Minneapolis, and he overhears the principals and some of the adult principals having a hard time finding somebody to coach their middle school basketball team. And so Jules said, I got somebody. So he volunteered his big brother. And I always tell people, I can't say on the air some of the things that I might have said to Jules back then about volunteering me. But I told people, and my story is I became a big brother expecting to impact the life of a 13-year-old young man, and my life was forever changed. And so I fell in love with coaching.
Yeah. So That was your first coaching position?
That was my first coaching position.
Okay. What was that position? You said a
I
middle
was a middle school incarnation over South middle school basketball coach, and we play. I forget we won a championship that year. We was 10-1.
Y'all won the ring there.
We did. We won a championship. We was 10-1. I still have the ball from that season, but you know, and so over the years, man, like I got so many Clyde Turner stories. My daughter. So when I was young, fresh out of school, didn't have a lot of resources. You know, man, daycare can be expensive, right? Yeah. So I had 2 kids in daycare, and I was working. It was during the Christmas break. Clyde Turner was having a camp at Washburn, and I was like, told my daughter Rashida, we were just talking about this a couple of weeks ago, like, you going to camp? She was like, she was crying. I don't want to go to camp. I don't like basketball. None of it, you know. And so I'm like, well, you gonna go to, I'm sending you and Lawrence to camp, you're gonna sit there, you know what I'm saying, but I'm not paying $100 this week for no daycare, you know what I'm saying, I need that money. So anyway, dropped off Clyde camp, I don't know what he did during the day, got her engaged, man, she was a 4th grader at the time, fell in love with the game, obviously began to play traveling, you know, played high school at De La Salle, went on to play Division I basketball at Norfolk State in Virginia. You know what I'm saying? And that changed her, changed her life. I was just talking to Lawrence today. His first trophy was Clyde Turner.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
A lot of people first trophy.
You know, his first trophy, first camp. And the thing that I always appreciated about Clyde, man, you know, we always talked about the camps, and I know there's a lot of, I always say this, man, like, any hoopers, there's real hoopers in this city, if they didn't go to Clyde Turner camp, they weren't a real hooper.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because, like, you know, didn't cost you $500 to go. It was a camp for the city, but it was a well coached. You know, he made sure.
It was the Clyde Turner. It was
you know what I'm saying? He brought in some of the best coaches, always organized. You know, I worked a few of those camps. I was always involved in some kind of capacity, but man, Clyde was a legend, man, and he's gonna always, be remembered through people like me and you. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, I don't know anybody. I have to say this, from 1981 to the last couple years, you know, that he's been sick, that didn't go to a Clyde Turner camp and participate. If you were, you know what I'm saying? And then for all of us, like I said, that Kwanzaa camp was, you know, like, if you had a break, and the crazy thing about, you know, the Kwanzaa camp in December, because that was, you know, during the holidays, like, even kids, if you was hooping, you know what I'm saying, and you know you're not supposed to be going, you know, camping, hooping, and you could go get hurt, but you showed up, you know what I'm saying, to be a part of that, man. So he's gonna be missed in a lot of ways, but never forgotten, man. Had a lot of impact on this community.
For sure, for sure. I want to talk about rings. What's the ring count right now?
So I'm at 6.
6.
You know what I'm saying? And I look back, man. You know, like this last group of kids. If you think about it, it's crazy because your brother was part of a group too. I think he went to played in 4 state titles. Yeah. You know, during the time that he was there. We got a 2nd place. This group that just graduated, with the exception of 2020 during the COVID year, you know, they got a 2nd place, which would have been with Nasir's senior year. We missed COVID. We got beat during the shortened season by Caledonia in the state tournament. And again, we finished 2nd this year in the state tournament. I believe, you know, we didn't have Zay get hurt, we certainly had an opportunity to be state champs. But, you know, so the ring count is at 6. And so I think, you know, that's the 3rd most in Minnesota State history.
Okay.
So you got Thorson got 9, Novak got 8, and I'm sitting at 6. So, and anybody who's been there know that, man, they're not easy to get.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask you. So you had a lot of success, though, but what was what was the hardest part about coaching?
I think the hardest part, man, was for the kids that I coach, it was so much more than X's and O's. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think for me, the hardest part was just dealing with some of the challenges of the young men that I had. You know, I mean, a lot of people don't know this, man. I had 5 kids over my career move in and stay with me. You know what I'm saying? Because they was homeless, you know, or you know, found them sleeping in cars and things of that nature. And so, you know, just it was a lot of heavy lifting. And the things that we did, I think, you know, anybody who played for me know that we did a lot of unique things that was different than from a lot of, it was much more than about basketball for me. And so the resources, you know, my goal was always, you know, wherever I was, I wanted the kids, particularly at Henry and North, whatever the suburban kids had, you know what I'm saying? You didn't have to go to Hopkins. You didn't have to go to the Wayzata to get this or that, because we was going to make that happen right here in the inner city. And so the heavy lifting and not necessarily having the resources, like for example, I'll tell you, I mean, and you know, you watch this. So, you know, one of the things that, like, we often had to wait. Most of the high school teams, they would order their travel suits, their warm-up suits at the beginning of the season, and they would have them all year. But because we didn't have the booster club or the resources to do that, we always had to wait to the end of the year. So that was one of the things that, like, I know when we got ready for the playoffs and the state tournament, you know what I'm saying, when we get there, you know, we will make sure that we're going to look like a team, warm-up suit, shoes, all of those kind of things. But we would have to wait over the course of the season. We weren't in position to do those things at the beginning of the season. So, you know, the lack of resources, sometime, man, I mean.
What type of stuff was you able to put in place, though, to help that?
So I mean, for me, it just what I was able to put in place is to use my resources, man. I was blessed. A lot of my fraternity brothers and friends that have had success over the years. You know, I've been doing this. I coached high school for 24 years, but I've been doing the work for about 42 years, you know what I'm saying, through traveling basketball. So over the years, I've built a lot of relationships. So I was able to reach out and do what we call sometimes pass a hat. I would tell some of my fraternity brothers, I like, hey, I need $2,000 for warm-up suits, you know. So we got 20 brothers in here, you know what I'm saying? Everybody give me 50, everybody, you know, throwing 100, whatever, like that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I just use my network. I was big on challenging businesses that I supported over the years. You know, I go to the same cleans, I go there, I need your help with these kids. And people saw the return on investment, you know, that they got through supporting me and wherever I was at in terms of the basketball team. So we were able to do some of those kind of things. So we had a lot of people, man, who supported us out of their pockets.
Are coaches underpaid, you feel?
Underpaid? I mean, so in all honesty, again,
high school coaches
are very underpaid. Very underpaid, and not only underpaid, man, I think undervalued. I think a lot of people don't understand the impact that high school coaches have on the young men and women that we coach. But I sat down and I calculated with all the time and everything that I put in, my pay was roughly about 3 cents an hour.
3 cents
you know,
an hour.
About 3 cents an hour. And then here's the thing. So going back to you talking about some of the challenges. So if we're on a trip, and you know, one of the things for us, I always like to take my kid on the road. So if we're on a trip and just so happen, you know, it might be that time of the month, man, money tight at the house. So we get on the bus. I don't know that John Smith, mom, you know what I'm saying, didn't have any money. So we're going to McDonald's or we go out to eat, can't have a kid sitting there. So almost every dollar that I made went back into the program. You know what I'm saying? So in essence, and I'm not unique in that sense, I don't think. So in essence, man, a lot of guys, you know, are volunteering, making sacrifices. Malik, one of the things is, it's crazy, man, that we're interviewing today. You know, one of the things I'm looking forward to when you talk about retirement, I have not been home with my family for Thanksgiving dinner since 1975. either as a player or coach. You know what I'm saying? Because, I mean, you played
75?
since 1975. So you think about it. If you're a player, so when I was in college, when all the other kids, you know, come, because Thanksgiving break, that's when we just beginning to play basketball, right? So when all the other kids go leave campus and go home for break, you got to stay in practice. You know what I'm saying? You're always in a Christmas tournament, so you don't get to go home for Christmas. And then if you're on a good team, if you're on a really good team, then you're playing during spring break. So it's been that long, man. So one of the things I got up today, I was texting my niece because they're planning a family Thanksgiving gathering. And I'm like, man.
I get to go.
I get to go. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's little things like that, man, that people don't realize the kind of sacrifices that you make, you know what I'm saying, when you take on these kind of positions in terms of like giving back to the community. So, you know, and then, so that meant.
So that's what it was a little bit about too, the retirement.
The retirement.
Freeing up some of your freedom.
You know, and I got a little bit more freedom. And then I got 4 granddaughters. You know, now the oldest one just turned 12 a couple of weeks ago. I hear she's a pretty good soccer player, having seen her. And even speaking of that, man, I mean, so it's crazy, man, but people get busy and kind of thing. Last week, prior to going on vacation, so I told you my oldest is 12. Last week, for the first time, I had all 4 granddaughters in one spot. Right, and I know how I see the pictures with your mom and dad, and I mean, it's something about them grandbabies, man. Yeah. It's something about them grandbabies. I don't know what it is. I used to, you know, my parents used to take my kids, and you know, I just appreciate it because I had to deal with it. But now, man, it's something about them grandbabies, and so. You know, but so to be able to.
And they love their grandparents too.
But you know what I'm saying? But also just to be able to get to a soccer game, man, to surprise her, to be able to do those things, man. And I'll say it this way, because I remember, man, for me, a lot of my challenge, so a lot of people know Coach McKenzie, but they don't know Larry McKenzie. Man, I had a lot of anger issues as a young man growing up. Primarily because my dad worked 3 jobs all my life. So my dad didn't get to see me play basketball. He didn't get to come when I was in a play or a spelling bee. And so I carried that, right, for a long time, man, and that hurt. But I tell people what he did do in the 7 years between my younger brother and myself. And so what he did do is he never missed for my younger brother. And my son, he never missed until he passed, man. He never missed a major event for Lawrence. And so for me, all the stuff that I may have missed for my kids because I was giving to the community and giving to other people's kids, now I got time to go see I can get on a plane and go see my granddaughter in a play. You know what I'm saying? Soccer game, first day of school, those kind of things that I have not been able to do over the years because I have been committed.
Yeah, it's a sacrifice being good.
The sacrifice has been good.
It's a sacrifice. People think it's all good all the time.
People think, I mean, and of course, you know, a lot of times, too, it's interesting you say that because I was just on the call before I came over here. People think, you know, you see John Calipari's salary and Coach K and all of that kind of stuff. So people think high school coaches are making that. But the average salary for a high school coach in Minnesota is about $5,000.
5,000 for a season?
For a season. 18 weeks, longest season in sports, right? And that's taxable income. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So by the time you calculate, man, and like for me, man, I'll just tell you, you know, so you figure 18 weeks, man, and I guarantee, so I keep track, right? I have on an average about 63 practices during the course of a season. That's 2 hours, right? And then I videotape every practice. So I go home, and that's another 2 hours of looking at that film. You know what I'm saying? Then you preparing for the next day to get. Now, and this is a part-time job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I got another job in the midst of all of this as well. So that's what I'm saying.
To make the bills.
You got to be able to pay the bills, right? Yeah. So people don't see none of that behind the scenes stuff that you have to do. You know, you drive into Watertown, Mayo, because you got to play them in a couple days. You know what I'm saying? The scouting, the night out. And of course, I mean, when you're doing that, I mean, that's time away from your family as well. So it is a lot of sacrifice. And in all honesty, man, that was one of the things that I had to, you know, think about, like, could I continue to do the heavy lifting and give 100%? And if I didn't feel like I could give 100% and continue to do it, then I knew it was time. And this past year, COVID, D-Hill, teacher strike, a lot of the challenges that we had to deal with, it just spoke to being time.
So, North and Henry, man, back in the day, I mean, even still now, not so much now as it was back in the day, but that used to be, you know, head banging. That was Vikings, Green Bay.
Oklahoma, I'd say it was Oklahoma State and Oklahoma, Florida State. Yeah.
It was Bloods and Crips, whatever you want to say.
Whatever you want to call it. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir.
How do you end up on the both sides of that?
You know what? I mean, in all honesty, I'll tell people it was a God thing. It really was, man. That's a story in itself. You know, I mean, obviously, I went to Henry, again, most people don't know this, as a volunteer assistant coach. And then when Pastor Efren Smith got the youth pastor job in Ohio, Ellen Stewart came to me. She was the AD, like, hey, you want the job? And I'll say this for those folks that are out there who are assistant coaches. When I was an assistant coach, I worked like I was a head coach. You know what I'm saying? And she saw that, right? And then I'd say, you know, I joke about it, but, you know, you had a couple guys on the team who were critical to the team, Johnny, Tony, Greg. At the time, they were like, well, coach don't get a job, we transfer in the North. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't want that to happen. So anyway,
they threatened to do that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So
what year was that?
1998.
Okay.
Actually, I got the job spring of 98.
So you didn't grow up in Minneapolis?
I grew up in Miami, Florida.
Miami, Florida.
Went to school at the University of Wisconsin River Falls.
Okay.
So came here and got a job out of college with Prudential, worked in corporate America for the first 15 years of my life, and then I got into education.
Did you even really understand the rivalry?
No, not really.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But not really how intense it was but when Lawrence was coming up, you know, I lived in North Minneapolis, right? So I would go to basketball games. So going back to, you know, when Brett McNeil and you know, Tony Adams and all of them was playing, you know what I'm saying? So I would go to the games and I saw it, but until you get in the midst of it, you really don't understand it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At all. So, you know, so I took the Henry job, and I'll never forget it because it's 1990 in the 96-97 season. I'm an assistant coach, man, and I'll never forget us preparing to play North. And then that's when, you know, that week, and now that I'm in it, you could feel the tension and all of that kind of stuff. And then I think about it, at that time, Henry hadn't beaten North in a while. And so, you know, we're preparing the kids and just really motivating them, you know, that week. And so we happened to get lucky, or you could say blessed, that Clyde, your grandma pulled him, and so he couldn't play. And so we ended up beating North.
So you got blessed.
Yeah, we got blessed. Yeah, we ended up beating North. I think it's in double overtime or triple overtime. Mike Pettis had a great game. We beat them that year. Then, of course, I took over the next season as a head coach, and we won the conference. And that's kind of crazy, man. So, you know, like Henry had a lot of talent, right? But if you go back and look at history, like they were not winning the conference or any of those kind of things. And I think for me, as a coach, I knew I had built a program the first time I beat North. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, again, for me, even in my house, you know, I'm living in North Minneapolis, and that's the school that Lawrence would have went to, North High, if I didn't go to, you know, end up getting a job at Henry.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I wonder what that would have looked like.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the and I mean not only Lawrence, but Lawrence and Zarek and a lot of kids that, you know, started with me at Henry. I mean, those kids would have possibly ended up at North because I mean you think about it, like Edison. I mean, and the Minneapolis City Conference was much better back then. I mean, because, you know, you had the Maybon brothers and I can't think of all the names at Edison. You know, South was very competitive. Washburn is coming off a state tournament themselves. So the conference, you know, the kids were staying home, I guess I would say then. But to go back to your question, so I decided on February 2013, like I had a lot of kids, man, that Isaac and a lot of those kids I had been mentoring outside of high school basketball when they were like 7th and 8th graders. And so I knew that those kids, that I was at Holy Angels. I only had 2 black players on the team. I knew there was no way that I had 9 kids that wanted to know, they wanted to play for me. And so I knew there was no way that those kids could even afford to go to Holy Angels. And so I decided at that point I needed to go back to the city. I actually interviewed, Henry became open. I interviewed for the Henry job. And to this day, I never got an answer, but obviously I did not get the job. And so
after you left Henry,
after I left
Holy
Henry,
Angels,
I went to Holy Angels.
you put your name in the hat?
I put my name in the hat.
For Henry.
At Henry. And for whatever reason, the AD decided they didn't want to hire me, and that's when they hired Jeremy Miller for the job. And so
But at that point, you had won already, right?
I won 4 titles for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. Right. And so.
What you think that was about?
I mean, the only thing that I could think it could be about the AD, both the ADs that I had worked with, both Ellen and Dave Wicker had left, and I just have to assume that the new AD wanted to create his own legacy. You know, at least that's what he thought. He wanted to create his own legacy. So I'm at work at Oak Park, and Mike Shelton shows up, and he was like, "Coach, man, I guess Mike had been at North for a year. They had struggled for a couple years. He was like, Coach, we need you, man. We need to put the band back together." I'm like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "Man, why don't you come and take this job? And once you come and take this job, and, you know, I'll help you kind of at North." And so I said, "Man, you know," I said, "let me pray about it, man." And so then a couple of days later, I got a call from Dr. Berry, who said, you know, "Hey, Coach, I know about the Henry North kind of rivalry and all of those kind of things, but, you know, I know what kind of work you do with black boys, and you know what the school is going through. Like, would you consider, you know, coming to coach at North?"
So before that point, when Mike Shelton said you should come take over this job, what was your thoughts then about, you know, I was at Henry. What was your thoughts at that point?
I mean, the first thing kind of you like the rivalry, right?
Yeah.
Man, I mean, 9 years, that, you know what I'm saying? But so I thought about that. But again, I mean, to be honest with you, once Henry, I mean, and I don't even know, like I said, man, to this day, I have never got a call to tell me, you know, you didn't get a job. I mean, I just know that they hired somebody else, and, you know, that was it. But once I knew that I had not gotten that job, I mean, they didn't have no loyalty to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So why should I be, you know what I'm saying? And so I thought about it. But for me, man, I lived over North most of the time since I moved to this community from college. And North Minneapolis and the young men in this community was bigger than any rivalry to me. Yeah. And I saw what was going on at North High School. And so it became an opportunity. I'll never forget, I walked in April of 2013, met the guys in the cafeteria, told them we're going to be champions. We're going to win championships here. And they looked at me like, man, this old dude is crazy. You know, and so, you know, I tell people my first year, we started an 8th grader, 2 9th graders, and 2 sophomores. And we lost in the section finals. The next year, obviously, Biggs is now a 9th grader. Those sophomores, those freshmen are now sophomores, and then the sophomores are now juniors. And we lost, same exact time, lost in the section final to Maranatha. And then I just knew, and I always tell, I think it takes you about 3 years to build a program, to get a program to where, so timing-wise, we was right on time. The 3rd year, state champs, obviously the 4th year state champs. And then we've been, you know, I mean, in that run, we were section champions every year with the exception of one. The one year we got upset by Brooklyn Center. And we've been in the state tournament all of those years.
So would you say, you know, it's high school coaches around the state, but it's city coaches. Do you feel like you work harder than
Absolutely.
have to work harder than?
Absolutely, man. I mean, that's one thing I said. I never forget having a conversation with Brett McNeil at the time when he was at North, and I said this to him. I said, man, look, I know one, as I look around, I say the one thing I do know, a lot of you guys will never beat me because you're never going to outwork me. And that's the thing that I prided myself on, man. I mean, like, nobody was going to outwork me. You know what I'm saying? Good, better, best, never take a rest. Your good can always be better than your best. I went to clinics. I called coaches. I did everything. And we'll continue to do that to get better as a coach. You know what I'm saying? Always learning, was always trying to get better. The first day that you're allowed to practice, I did 1 year. I tried to do Midnight Madness. You know, we started at midnight, 12:01 practice. But I would be, everybody know that first week of practice, 6 a.m. Yeah. 6 a.m. And with no ball, you don't touch a ball, and all defense.
Who were some of your biggest coaches' rivals?
Over the years, I mean, I named 2. You know what I'm saying? One thing I loved about coaching against.
Was they rivals though?
Yeah, Dave Thorson? Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like he got under your skin a little bit?
Oh yeah, man. Time? I mean, for a lot of reasons. I mean, Dave got under my skin because he had Northside kids. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And again, I always saw, and to this, like I saw De La Salle like as a recruiting game. You know what I'm saying? And Hopkins, right? You had to win because them were the kids you want to stay home and come to the city. So Dave Thorson was probably the most prepared coach I ever coached against. Love coaching against Dave. Novak always had competitive teams, and you know that you know what I'm saying? It was always going to be a big game. So I saw those as rivalry. Then you have people like Reggie Perkins. You know, when Reggie was at Washburn, I thought Reggie did a hell of a job. I love, and I would say combination, because when you played against Ingram, you know, of course, Cliff was going to be there on the side and being loud. But North was, and like you said earlier, we're talking about rivalries, right? Like, to me, if I was coaching, if you were at Henry or North, like, if you don't win no other game, like, so when I was at Henry, if I don't win no other game, I had to beat North. When I was at North, if I don't win no other game, I had to beat Henry. You know what I'm saying? So, but because it was like one, you know, that's like, I mean, we don't have no official trophy for it, but Penn Avenue was our Tobacco Road. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, that's the, you know what I'm saying? That's the game that you can walk into Walgreens or Cub or what, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Feel good because you know, you won that game.
You got it for the city.
You got it for the city, right? Yeah. And I think, man, you know, as we're talking, man, I just think, you know, like Duke and North Carolina, I mean, we should find a way to make that more of a celebratory, you know what I'm saying, kind of event and that kind of stuff. And I think we lost that with football when they changed the, you know, the North and Henry don't play, but like that's the pride of the neighborhood, right? Yeah.
North and Henry don't play football?
No, they don't, because they in two different sections now, divisions, or however they do with football.
Okay. If you had to put together like a Mount Rushmore for who? Players, four players on Mount Rushmore, who would your four be?
Well, you got to start with Khalid. I mean, Khalid definitely on that mountain. That's a tough question, man. Because so I would say Lid. I would say I would add Troy Bell next to Khalid. I seen Troy do some amazing kind of things as a basketball player, man. I would say Troy. I would have bias, and so I would add Johnny Gilbert, because I think Johnny Gilbert was one of the most underrated kids to ever play in the city. I have to give my son Lawrence McKenzie some consideration in that. But then you got Cam Taylor. You got, man.
But if you got to lock in on four, though, I need you somebody got to get snubbed.
So are we talking city conference? Or are we talking about basketball?
We're talking Minnesota basketball.
Minnesota basketball.
Yeah.
So if I had to lock in on four, I would certainly say I'll start with Khalid. I'll go to I'll put Troy there. I would have to put probably Kevin McHale and Jim Peterson as the four.
Okay. What was the best team you coached? Which year? 1 year. Which was the best team? And then I guess you could tell me the best Henry team.
You know what? I don't know if I could say. I mean, I think they're. So when people ask about the best team, I think it's hard to say the best team because every year is different. Every year is.
Well, you know how they compare eras. They say the Bulls versus the KD Golden State.
So I would say if I was talking about Henry, obviously I would say my '99 team because you got to look at that team. You had Johnny Gilbert, who ended up at Oklahoma, Greg Patton, who played at Utah State, Tony Travis, Arkansas Little Rock, Zerick Knight, who ended up at Middle Tennessee, and then Terry Pettis ended up at Fresno State. Then you had kids like Lawrence and LB and Sledge, all of them kids coming off. That's one of the most talented. I mean, we almost played every kid that we hired because that was one of the most talented teams that we had. So
99?
99. They won my first state championship.
Okay.
You know, that was a very deep team. Because of Johnny Gilbert's ability to block shots, we were able to do some things, play fast, you know what I'm saying, do some things that that I couldn't do with some of the other teams.
So, I mean, I need to know. So who do you have the 99 team playing against?
I would say the 2000, for me, my 2016 team. And that would be, are you talking about in general? Because, I mean, obviously, man, like when you start talking about Carrick Taylor and Ozzie Lockhart and Khalid.
But you didn't coach them.
No, I didn't coach. You talking about who I coached?
Out of who you
so
coached.
then I would go to the 2016 team.
Right.
So that's Tyler, Jamil Jackson, Pat, Biggs, and I forget who was the fifth. Who was the fifth starter on that team? Let's see, Isaac, Pat, Jamil.
Quan?
Quan, yeah.
It was Quan?
Yeah.
So that 99 team versus the 16
The
team.
2016 team.
And who wins that game?
The 99 team. The 99
It's a blowout?
team. Yeah. No, it's not a blowout, but I think one of the matchups that would be Johnny ability to block shots, and you know Biggs was a back to the basket center, right? And I think Johnny's ability to control the paint and that kind of stuff would have made it difficult. The athleticism, that pretty close. And then you know Tony and Gray could shoot, man, and they were athletes. So I would go with that 99 team.
Yeah. 99 team. And who wins that game? The 99 team.
The 99 team. Yeah. No, it's not a blowout, but I think one of the matchups that would be Johnny ability to block shots, and you know Biggs was a back to the basket center, right? And I think Johnny's ability to control the paint and that kind of stuff would have made it difficult. The athleticism, you know,
I want to talk about parents in sports. I see you all the time talk about the parents in the sports. So, I mean, if my son out there, he playing, tell me do's and don'ts.
So what I would tell you first and foremost,
I'm
man,
excited.
and I think we talked about this before.
Yeah.
Find a coach that you trust.
Yeah.
Find a coach that you trust, because one of the things that it's hard enough, man, for as an adult to have two different kind of messages coming into your head, right? And so you have to find somebody that you coach. And then I think all too often, make sure it's a situation, man, where it's still fun. I think one of the challenges that we have these days in terms of keeping up with the Joneses and that kind of stuff, we got kids, they're playing too much. You know what I'm saying? They playing too much. If Johnny Smith down the street, kid do this, Malik Elamine got to do this with his son. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's too much worrying about what somebody else is doing. You know, people spending $200-300 on trainers, right? If you spend that kind of money on trainers, then you expect your kid to play. And a lot of times, and I'll say one of the challenges for me, I mean, you played, so you understand, man. Like a lot of times, like parents wonder why they don't give coaches any credit for having strategies. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes the game dictate. You know, I remember a situation that I had with a parent. I mean, she wanted to know, you know, why at the time I was at the Academy of Holy Angels. Like her son was 6'1", he's a post guy, and I'm playing against a team where their front line is 6'9", 6'8", 6'8", and she wanted to know why I can't put him in, he don't play. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like that lineup dictate who I can play that night, right?
Yeah.
I got to try to get big.
It's like small ball or something for the night.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to win. And so, but I think the biggest thing, man, is like make sure that you trust the coach. And then I know it's a two-way street, man, but develop a relationship with the coach. And I'll say this, man, like I coach a younger brother. And the one thing that I really appreciated about, you know, your dad played, man. And, you know, I mean, let's be real, man. I mean, Elamine playing is a special name in this game of basketball, particularly in the state of Minnesota. But never once mom and dad coming to me about complaint, you know, trust, didn't always understand what I did and why I did it, but they trust me. You know what I'm saying? And I can tell you, one of the most encouraging parents that I've ever had is your dad. You know, just always, man, like, Coach, I know what you're doing. And I think the thing that separated them is that they understood what I was doing, trying to do with the young men that I was coaching, was much bigger than just X's and O's on the court. And a lot of parents get so caught up into the playing time and how many points. And I tell people, I mean, you know, it's hard to win around the dinner table. And you know, as a player, when you come home from a game, you sitting around the next morning, y'all sitting at the dinner table, what's the first question they ask?
Stats.
Yeah. How many points you got, right? Nobody say, man, how many assists did you get? Did you get any charges?
I mean, my people say how you play.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But and again, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. They were unicorns in that sense, in that they were able to see the big picture. But like I said, they trusted me with their son. Yeah. And I think that you got to trust the coach that he's going to do what's in the best interest of the son, and then have the relationship, if you don't understand, to be able to go in and have a conversation about it, right? But just understanding the big picture of it, man. But I just think these days, and I'll say this, man, I think kids become lottery tickets, Powerball, Mega Million. You know what I'm saying? And people want their kids to do something that they couldn't do. And so, you know, everything is about getting to the green room. And the reality of it is people don't understand less than 1% kids ever even play college basketball, much less get to the green room. You know what I'm saying? And so I think when you put all, and it's different. See, I also think it's different because you played the game. And like I was telling people, like for me, even though I coached my son, I had my own trophies growing up. I was a pretty good basketball player, you know what I'm saying? So whatever Lawrence, I didn't need to live through Lawrence because I had created my own legacy, you know what I'm saying, prior to that. And so I just think sometimes, but I think it comes down to trust and communicate.
So do you think they shouldn't be, basically they shouldn't be hands-on during games?
So I mean, I don't think you should be, because you're not at practice.
Right.
So you don't know what's going on. So when you out there hollering, shoot, do this, that kind of stuff, you don't know what the play is. You don't know why the coach is calling that play. And I'll give you an example. It'd be like the audience, somebody sitting in the room, hollering over to you right now. Hey, why you ain't ask coach this question? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Ask him this, ask him that.
And it might be coming up.
And you know what I'm saying? Right. You know what I'm saying? That kind of stuff. So that's what I'm saying. You got to respect the individual that you trusting your kid with. You know what I'm saying? That they know what they doing.
Yeah. But so do you always assume that they are pushing a different message than you are?
I think a lot of times I shouldn't say you always assume, but you know what I'm saying? Like again, and here's the thing about it is because you're gonna be, your lens is looking at what's best for your son. The coach lens is to look out what's best for those 12 or 15 kids sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
You know
Even
what I'm saying?
the program,
for
the whole
program. And ultimately,
yeah,
for the 45 or 60 kids that I have in my program, right? And so I think that's what, and I mean, just think about this though. I mean, and it's funny now I can think about it, but you listen to so Nasir get the ball, they say, pass the ball. You know what I'm saying? But they son get the ball, they say shoot. And I think, to me, to be honest with you, another one of the reasons, I don't know if the team game, man, with all the social media and the likes and all of those kind of things, I don't know if the team game means as much now to kids as it did when you was hooping. You know what I'm saying? It's so much individual now, man. And for me as an old school kind of guy, I just struggle with that.
So, I mean, what's your suggestions, though? Like, just be encouraging, motivating?
You know, the thing of it is, and I had to learn this myself, as a
asking for just, a father.
I think, like as a father, you know what I'm saying, you might say to the coach, I mean, what can I help? What does he need to work on? That kind of stuff. Making sure that they get to practice on time. Making sure that they're doing all the things that coaches coaches asking them to do. But I think that to get in the car and be encouraging, man. Like, keep working hard. You know what I'm saying? Cause hard work. I mean, first of all, I think a lot of people assume, I don't know anybody that's coaching that don't want to win. You know what I'm saying? And so if you want to win, you're going to play your best players. You're going to put people in the best situation to win games. And so I just think as a parent, you should be able to continue encourage that kid, you know what I'm saying, and teach them the biggest thing, particularly for us. I think one of the challenges, help your son or your daughter learn how to be an advocate for themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, okay, cause like I say, I could have never gone home to my dad and complain about a coach. You know what I'm saying? Because he was going to be like,
he wasn't going to try to hear it.
He wasn't going to try to hear it and be like, okay, well, what you doing? Are you going hard? And then the thing about it is, which I'm sure you understand now more than you did when you were 15 or 16 years old, because you are a father now, you see things in your kid that your kid can't see and won't see until they get to a certain point in life, right? And so. And I used to tell Lawrence this when he used to call me complaining about coaches. Like, I'm not going to get on the phone. I'm not going to meet with the coach because, Lawrence, your 100% may not be coach 100%. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm in practice every day and I'm saying, man, I'm watching you, I'm like, this kid got some talent. You know what I'm saying? But I need to push him a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? He got to get in the gym and work on his jump shot. He got to, you know, be able to go to the level. Those kind of. So sometimes, like a coach, gonna see some things that a parent, you know what I'm saying, is not gonna see. So trusting the coach, encouraging your student, your kid, your scholar athlete to learn to be an advocate for themselves. You know, go in, sit down. Like, I mean, I go in like coach. I mean, I remember, you know, and every time you go to another level, as you well know, it's different, right? So freshman in high school, like I remember to this day going to my high school coach, asking him between that summer, like, what do I need to do to start next year? And work on those things in the summer. Yeah. And when he was in the gym, I was in the gym. You know what I'm saying? When I went to college, man, I mean, you got all of these guys came from all around the country. Like, coach, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, what do I need to do? What I got to get better at? You know what I'm saying? But I had to learn how to advocate for myself. I mean, my dad wasn't coming from Miami to River Falls, Wisconsin to meet with the coach about, you know, my playing time or any of those kind of things. And then sometimes it ain't, so sometimes as a parent, you might think it's just about what's going on just in the game, right? Because the game is the final product. And I tell everybody all the time, you have more practices than you have games. But the other thing about it is, coach might not be playing you because you were late for class. You know what I'm saying? You did some other kinds of things that nobody else is aware of in that process.
Yeah, because you ain't going to tell them as a player, probably.
Right, you see, you're right. And the kid ain't going to sometimes, like I tell people, I mean, like if you ain't playing, you know, when you wasn't playing, you knew why you weren't playing, right?
For the most part,
But again, but when you tell your parents, you might not, it becomes the coach or other people kind of things. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people don't own their own stuff. Right? So coach don't like me.
Or not used to being held accountable.
Or not being used to held accountable.
Yeah.
And I think, and to be honest with you, we want to be real. When you got a lot of our young men who are not coming from two-parent households, and they're not used to a black man holding them accountable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that becomes part of the issue too, of that whole entitlement thing. So I think there's a lot of things that goes into it. It's just like I tell people, I mean, when you go to a movie or a play, you see the final production. You ain't seeing them guys when, like when you come to the game and you watch Lil Malik play, you ain't seeing all the turnovers he had last night in practice. You know what I'm saying? Or the free throws that he missed in practice, or the half touching the line and all of those kind of, you know what I'm saying? You ain't seen none of that.
Yeah.
So all you know is my son, I think my son should be playing, but I don't have none of that other information.
So would you suggest, is it too much to be, you know, some parents are too much hands-on as far as like they're at every practice, they're at every, you think that's a mistake?
I do. I mean, and for me as a coach, I mean, one of the things, I didn't typically allow parents in my practice. You know what I'm saying? Again, because, see, basketball to me, I always say is a microcosm. For me, basketball was a tool, man, to help build strong, young African-American men. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to be a team to help them grow up to get to a certain point, because we know what's waiting for them outside of this. So as a team, right, I mean, you know, you're the point guard, right? Your assignment and me as a three, our assignments are different. You know what I'm saying? Different. And so I'm saying that to say this. As a parent, you got to do your job, and then the coach got to do his job. But we got to be, but the thing that you want is you want to have your kid in the hands of somebody that I know have the same value system
so you're
that
on
I
the same
do.
team.
So you're on the same team.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I know what my kid is. If I'm not at practice every day, I know what coach is saying to my kid. I know what my kid is getting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's not just about the X's and O's. And I think and to be honest with you, I think a lot of parents, you know, wanted their kids to play for me because of that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'll never forget. I mean, I remember you coming to a practice, man, and saying, man, coach, I wish you could have coached me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just saying, cause it was so much more than about basketball, and everybody don't see that. Now, part of that is too, you was older, and now you had a different lens.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and so a lot of times at 15 or 16, 17, 18, our kids, you know, they ain't understanding it either. You know what I'm saying? But I just think parents and coaches got to be teammates.
Yeah, everybody got to be on the same
Everybody
team.
got to be on the same page.
Everybody.
Yeah. And again, I don't think it's inappropriate for you as a parent to ask questions when you don't understand something. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, sometime about, man, why did he run that play? Or why did Nasir get to shoot the ball versus Eli? Or, you know, that kind of stuff. I mean, to me, those are the things that's overboard.
Scouts. What are scouts looking for? I know they call your phone. You know, what are they actually looking for out of a player?
that's a good question, man. And I laugh about this too now, man. Over the years, you know, I get calls all the time, man. I get, you know, even some of our kids that's got drafted lately. I've had NBA coaches call me and just want to know my thoughts about those kids. I think I'll tell you this, in all of my experience, and I've been blessed to talk to John Thompson, Coach K, a whole lot of coaches over the years. First thing they want to know, man, is about character. What kind of kid is he? You know what I'm saying? What kind of kid is he? What kind of how do they get along? How do they treat people in the school? I never had a coach. I never, ever had a coach ask me about how many points, how many rebounds, or how many assists a kid average. They want to know. They want to know what kind of student are they. They want to know about the family background. They want to know about their character. You know what I'm saying? Especially at the next level, you got to understand. Like for me, I coach primarily for the love of the game. But at that next level, that guy, when he bring a kid in, it could cost him his mortgage payment or his car payment, right? So he got to make sure it's a good fit.
Yeah, good investment.
Yeah, good investment, right?
Yeah.
Good investment. Yeah. So I think that's a thing that people forget. Like, you know, and I tell people. So I do some consulting around scouting, and what I always do, I like to watch. I figure if a coach called me to scout a kid about, they already know that they can play. So I go to warm up. I want to watch their interaction with their teammates in warm up. I want to see, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See how they respond in the warm up. I watch them in timeout, right? Is the coach talking? Are they listening? Or are they looking across the way, you know, at their mom or dad or the grandparents or whoever, that kind of stuff? Are they paying attention? When the coach take them out the game, do they pull their jersey up and out and all of those kind of things? That's the stuff that I look for when I'm actually writing a scouting report on a kid.
Yeah. But how do you, I mean, the NBA tells us a lot of stuff is okay, you know, like talking to the refs and all of that, you know.
Well, but again, and I used to tell my son this, the NBA is entertainment, and it's also only the chosen few. And I think that's a mistake that a lot, see, like for example, I'm glad you brought that up. You'll see guys try to emulate Steph Curry and some of the shots that he made, but they don't understand that at that point, he don't put in 100 hours working on that same shot, right? And so that's the thing that I think is interesting too. Kids say ball is life, and they want to be like Steph Curry or some of those other guys, but they don't do the work that they do to get there.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, I mean, it's about that far separation between the guys who do get there and they don't. But it's those little extra things that get them there. So I don't think you can, I think emulating some of the stuff that you see. And I mean, to me, I like professional basketball, but it's like WWE. It's entertainment. You can't take 6 steps and go to the basket in high school. You know what I'm saying? You can't do some of that stuff. It's a different game.
So basically, don't do what you see on TV. Don't try this at home.
Yeah. Don't try to do that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, so you got 6 rings. That's the third most in Minnesota
State history.
So you know they're gonna nitpick with you. You know. So some of your criticisms. What would you say to criticism that you need talent to win, and you're basically not an X and O guy? Well, how would you?
So first of all, I would tell everybody. They haven't been in a huddle. Just had this conversation with a college coach, probably from coming over here. I'd ask any coach or anybody who's won a championship, do you need talent to win? Name a team that you know of that has won a championship without talent. And secondly, when you got talent.
Well, I guess superior talent.
I mean, well, so one of the things when people say that, I always ask the question, why do that superior talent want to play for Coach McKenzie? First. Yeah. Second, if you got superior talent, then you got to manage, you got to keep all them kids happy. So what's easier to coach, a bunch of kids with no talent or a bunch of kids with talent? Where's the challenge at?
Challenging on both sides.
And I'll say this, for all of those people that criticize and say that about Coach McKenzie and the talent, I'll say this. Talk to some college coaches, but all of my kids that have left me, that have gone on to the next level as a freshman, either started or was no farther than the 6 or 7. They got playing time. Why? Because they were more prepared for college basketball than a whole lot of other kids. But I've heard that as, coach. And I'll say this, man. I'll say this. I've never thought that I was one of the greatest X's and O guys. That wasn't my strength. My strength to me is I love my players.
Yeah.
And I gave my players unconditional love. And I tell people the reason that I won is because I love them and they love me back. And they play like that.
Yeah. So what about criticism about the classes? Like he's won because he was in that class. He was in 2A when they should have been in a higher class, or that's that.
Well, one thing about being successful, I mean, people gonna find something to nitpick at, but I tell them that.
And at the top, they nitpick.
And the thing about it is, so look at this. For those that talk about the classes, what about the schedule? What about the schedule? So when you go back and you look at from the start of my career to the end of you go back this year, the 8 teams that was in the finals, every class, we played 5 of them and beat 4 of them. You see what I'm saying? So when you go back, I argue this. You could talk about the class, but I would argue over the years that nobody ever played. In my 24 years, nobody ever played a tougher schedule than I played them. I would play anybody, anywhere, anytime. So when we were able to travel, played Oak Hill, we played Lincoln High, Sebastian Telefit, we played
What team played Oak Hill?
Johnny them. We played Oak Hill in Louisville, Kentucky. We played Louisville Ballot. We played. So I go back. I played the best teams. If they were ranked, we put them on the schedule. So I would tell anybody, regardless of class. And then when you start talking about class, I didn't make the decision. So first of all, one of the reasons that North and Henry, when I was at Henry stayed 3A. So first of all, people got to understand this for all the people that talk about it. When you look at football recently, right? Football, baseball, hockey, softball, swimming, any of those kind of things. If you look like me and you go to high school in the city, what's the only sport that you really got a chance of winning a championship? Basketball. Yeah. So when I was at Henry, Dave Wicker and John Washington had an agreement to keep North in 4A and Henry in 3A so that both teams could get to the state tournament. And we wouldn't be knocking, because again, winter basketball was big for our kids because we wasn't winning no other championship, but we could win in basketball. When I came to North, we only had 68 kids. Now, it's not my fault because those kids were talented kids. You know,
But it also had to do with, don't you have to stay in the class for terms?
you got to stay in the class for a couple years, right? Yeah. And so we stayed, and as we grew, we went from, you know.
Because my couple of my years, my last years, we had about 68 students, something like that.
Okay.
But we was
Well,
4A.
you was locked, but y'all was 4 and y'all was
So we
locked
was locked
in.
in.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, you just had a unfortunate situation. Right, so y'all was locked in, which wouldn't have gave y'all a chance because y'all could probably, you know what I'm saying, y'all could have done something at that class level. But, you know, again, like I tell them, I mean, I just learned over the years, man, you play the hand that you dealt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I've heard that, man, but like I say, there's a reason that, you know, and again, man, I mean, you know, a lot of kids had options to go to a whole lot of other schools. Why did they, talented kids, why did they want to play for Coach McKenzie?
Do you have a best player, a most talented player you've coached?
I don't know if I...
Or biggest winner? You know, a lot of times the biggest coaches like Calhoun, he named a couple of his biggest
well, I
winners.
mean, I mean, I'll say this. I mean, when you look at Tyler Johnson, I mean, Tyler was 3-time, you know, Minneapolis City Conference Player of the Year in football, 3-time Minneapolis City Conference Player in basketball. I mean, certainly the most athletic, talented kid from that standpoint that I've coached over the years. But I look at people like, you know, who didn't get that kind of recognition as Edwin Huff, you know, Lawrence played on 4 state title teams, Johnny Gilbert, Zarius Knight, TP. So, I mean, I got a lot of favorites.
You
man.
was blessed. It was too many.
I was just blessed, man. You know, and call it what you want. I had a, you know, I had a lot of talented kids, but the kids also had. Why didn't they choose to go to Edison or, you know, Southwest or some of these other schools? I was blessed, right? Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Who you handing the keys to? As you retire, who's gonna be the next North coach?
You know what? I mean, I don't know. I mean,
do you have any suggestions?
I mean, I think. I mean, obviously, I think, you know, now that Lyd is in coaching, I think he would be a good choice. I think Coach Pete have paid his dues over the years. He's been with me for almost the whole run, so he understands what I've done. I think Brandon Mitchell has an opportunity to be he's a younger those guys that he's got a very bright future. So,
what do you suggest they go young or like what? Because you know, I heard you say that you know some people need to move out the way.
I mean, definitely younger than me. I mean, I don't. You know, that's when I'm thinking young. But I think you gotta have somebody in there, man. And I say this to my kids and anybody that's listening to this. Success requires sacrifice. Success requires sacrifice. And so anybody who takes a job is going to have to be willing to make the sacrifices, right? The most important thing for me when I took that job, I knew the great history of North and the legacy of North boys basketball, and I wanted to get it back to, you know, back to the mountaintop. I think we've done a good job of putting the program back in a respectable place, you know. And so the next person is going to have to be willing to do the work to keep it there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. I guess lastly, if you can give some words to an upcoming player, upcoming coach, somebody grinding right now. If you can give them some advice from your journey, what would you say to them?
Work hard. Work hard. And the thing about it is, you can't follow the leader. You got to be the leader. You know what I'm saying? You have to. I like to say this because I used to tell Lawrence all this all the time. Like, I'll push the car, but you got to start the car. If you out there, you got to start the car, man. You got to get up at 6 in the morning. And again, if ball is life, look at the great ones. Kobe Bryant, 4 o'clock every morning. Up, yoga, 1,500, 2,000 shots. You know what I'm saying? Practice. You got to hit the books, because in the end, academics is going to become the major separator. So you got to put yourself in position to be recruited. But the thing about it is, man, look around you, and you got to, if you can't look around you and say that you're the hardest working dude, and that's what I used to ask my team every year, man. At the end of the season, are we the hardest working team in the state? If you're not, and that has to be led in part by the coach, but if you're not the hardest working person in the gym, then you got to ask yourself some questions.
I appreciate you, Coach. Appreciate you coming out, you know.
Thank you. You got a lot of stuff here.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
A lot of stuff
we
here.
got some good stuff. It'll be out soon.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming, though,
No,
Coach.
man, thank you for having me.
Thank you.